You believe in Jesus? You believe in Prophet Muhammad?
Well, I definitely don't believe in Jesus. Why? Why would I? Because I'm not 10. I mean, it's obviously an ancient myth.
I'm not 10.
Well, right off the back, the condescending nature of some of these anti-theists like Bill Maher is beyond belief. Just like, I mean, think of all the scientists like Francis Collins or like professional philosophers that have done great work, like from Richard Swinburne to Alvin Plantinga. They're all 10 to you, Bill. They're all that immature and stupid.
There are a lot of atheists who aren't like that. And it's something where it just seems like that's what was easy to sort of weaponize. You know what I mean? Like, I was an atheist in the 90s, and I knew maybe 4 or 5 other kids in the school who were atheists in my high school. We all had sort of the same, okay, yeah, I think these guys are not terribly bright for believing this stuff, but, you know, who really cares? It's not like it has any terrible effect on us. Whereas then the major shift with the new atheists was, if we get everyone's emotions riled up because Christianity is coming to destroy you, and it's going to destroy science, and it's going to destroy the world, and it's going to oppress you, and it's going to take away, they're going to come after atheists and so on, and they're all stupid, and they all just believe in these myths like 10-year-olds, and they're like little kids with daddy issues and so on. So we have to destroy this, or we're all going to die. And that's what actually worked, right? It's like the less rational and the less careful you are, the more it works in the age of the internet.
You know, all the gods that came before him had like the same birthday.
And the same story, though, as well.
Same story. Disciples, like 12 people.
Now, I'm gonna interpret that as a slip of the tongue, because he said all the gods before him had the same story. So notice it's gone from, again, I'll take that as hyperbole, but before it was, look at this god, and he shares this element, and look at that god, he shares that element. But now the time, after being refuted on this for years, he's to the point, everyone had the same story beforehand. 12 disciples. Matter of fact, let me give, this is a quote. This is from his movie Religulous, claiming that the Jesus story wasn't original. Written in 1280 BC, the Egyptian Book of the Dead describes a god, Horus. Horus is the son of the god Osiris, born to a virgin mother. He was baptized in a river by Anup the baptizer, who was later beheaded. Like Jesus, Horus was tempted while alone in the desert, healed the sick, the blind, cast out demons, and walked on water. He raised Asar from the dead. Asar translates to Lazarus. Oh yeah, he also had 12 disciples. Yes, Horus was crucified first, and after 3 days, 2 women announced Horus, the savior of humanity, had been resurrected. Now those are very, very specific claims all of a sudden. Like, he's going into lots of detail, like every detail about the life of Jesus matches up with Horus.
Yeah, it's all BS. And he should know this by now. He said that there were gods before Jesus that were born on December 25th. That's just demonstrably false. We have no text that mention any deity born on December 25th or birthday celebrated on December 25th prior to Jesus. The only early source that mentions a deity as birthday on December 25th is in something called the Philocalian calendar, which dates to 354 AD. Now that's post-Constantine, and all it says is 30 games ordered for the birthday of the unconquered one. And we think that's probably a reference to the sun god, and it's plausible, actually, that pagans moved a sun celebration to December 25th to actually compete with Christians, not the other way around. He mentioned earlier earlier pagan deities having 12 disciples. Again, no text say that. There are no deities that were ever crucified, like Horus. I mean, that's just nonsense. I mean, I don't know where this stuff comes from and why it keeps getting repeated, but it's just one of those lies that spread around the internet and no one ever facts check it.
It's similar to Islam in that if you look at a lot of Islamic apologetics, a lot of it's just total nonsense, right? You know, if you argue as a Muslim that there's a creator and so on, then okay, you can make your case there. A lot of what the Dawah gangs use is just complete deception. Like if you say that the Quran has been perfectly preserved right down to the letter and that there's no difference anywhere between any 2 Quran manuscripts, that's completely, totally, idiotically false, and every Muslim scholar on the planet knows it's false. And yet it's what they tell their followers, and what they found is that if you're in an atmosphere of ignorance where no one knows anything about Islam, you could say whatever you want. So you can say to a feminist, Muhammad is the greatest feminist who ever lived. And if you're talking to a guy who hates feminism, Muhammad is the only thing that can save you from feminism. You can just adapt your message to whatever people like. And so you can spread a lot of completely false things if you're in an atmosphere of ignorance. And so notice, if you're walking up to Christians 15 years ago and you say, did you know about Horus, who was baptized by this guy who was later beheaded and he had 12 disciples and all that. Christians don't know about any of that stuff. So they just go, what? And anyway, it just spreads really, really rapidly. And it's just amazing that this is coming from the people who claim to be against spreading nonsense, and yet they're the new champions of complete nonsense.
There's a lot of nonsense in this, but let's like, I even see, unfortunately, some atheists I know online, they're trying to push a more, I guess I would say, scholarly approach to this idea that Jesus is sort of based off pagan deities, or like he's a Jewish version of like some dying and rising motif from the ancient world, something like that. And it's bad. Let's look at a couple of these deities. We will get how bad this is. So let's take, for example, they'll say Inanna. So Inanna was an ancient Sumerian deity, Akkadian Ishtar, and some modern atheists will claim that, she was also a dying and rising god, that she was dead for 3 days and 3 nights. I've seen atheists make this claim within the past few months. They'll cite a text called Inanna's Descent to the Netherworld, or Inanna's Descent. And they'll say, in that text, she descends to the Netherworld, she's dead, she does something like a crucifixion where she's hung, and she's dead for 3 days and 3 nights. Anytime someone tells you Inanna was dead for 3 days and 3 nights, has not read Inanna's Descent. It does not say she was dead for 3 days and 3 nights. They're taking it out of context. What it says is Inanna tells her servant Ninkaburu, on the day I arrive in the underworld, start making rounds for me, lament for me, get the gods on my side, that kind of thing. Then Inanna descends and she dies. Then it cuts back to Ninkaburu and it says, after 3 days and 3 nights, Ninkaburu started making the rounds for Inanna. So the 3 days and 3 nights in that text corresponds to Inanna's descent to the underworld, not her death, because it's aligned with the text of Ninkaburu making the rounds. So it doesn't say she was dead for 3 days and 3 nights. It refers to how long it took her to get to the underworld. 3 days and 3 nights, and then Ninkaburu started making the rounds, that kind of thing. It also doesn't mention anything like a crucifixion. She's pronounced dead by the gods of the underworld, and then they take her dead body and they hang it on a hook. Then eventually the god Enki sends down these genderless creatures to resurrect her, kind of, so to speak. But really they just give her some sort of special water or a plant, depending on the version you read. And she comes back, and then she's got to spend half the year in the underworld, and someone's going to take her place, kind of thing. So her descent in that whole structure corresponds not to some sort of physical death and resurrection, but with the vegetation cycles.
If you're going to say Jesus was crucified, therefore it must have been stolen from this earlier, this god who was supposedly crucified because the god was put on a hook or something. I mean, are you going to do that with all the crucifixions? Every record we have with people being crucified, copying I understand if you're an atheist, a naturalist, you want to avoid the supernatural elements and so on. But the basic story of a guy, and he had, Jesus is going around, he's got his disciples, he gets crucified. A few days later, they're claiming that he rose from the dead. These are things that even atheist scholars regarded as facts about Jesus, but the sort of out of touch internet atheists, they're even explaining that stuff away, like historical bedrock of Jesus, and they're tossing that into the myth category and doing a really, really lame job of it.